quarterback.
Oh, there's a goal! Bounces. Oh, at least they thought he was gonna until he blew it.
This video on the goings-on in the NFL offseason is sponsored by Rocket Money. Dead cap is an issue that a lot of football teams try to avoid when dealing with finances. Having to weave and turn through every loophole and hairpin is a daunting task, but is unfortunately inevitable. Like most teams deal with dead cap, the average person loses over $250 a year on late fees and overdraft charges. Sadly for us, we don't have a team of capologists to help us through it, but we do have Rocket Money. It's an all-in-one, easy-to-use platform that aids in managing your finances, lowers your bills, and helps you save a few bucks in the process. Did for me, to be honest. The app noticed that I could be saving a good bit on my SiriusXM bill. So I gave them my information, uploaded a picture of my bill, and simply tapped a button. I expected nothing of it, but to my surprise, Rocket Money saved me over $200 on my subscription. It's the things that get looked over that it's best at finding. And that savings alone makes Rocket Money worth it to me. Join 3.4 million members like myself who have been convinced. All you have to do is go to rocketmoney.com/tree to get started for free. You can even unlock more features with premium if you desire. But all that matters is that Rocket Money has made a believer out of me. Only if it can help with this video. Let's start this round up at the top of the food chain in the AFC East. Buffalo is still in their contending window, but it doesn't mean that last year doesn't sting. They're not anywhere closer to a Super Bowl than they had been. In fact, the Bills may have gone backwards. Even as no Von Miller may be a valid excuse, there were still plenty of other issues to consider. Not to mention losing pieces like Tremaine Edmonds for the linebacking core. They fortunately did manage to keep Jordan Poyer, Jordan Phillips, and Matt Milano. Not to mention another fix for the interior O-line and Connor McGovern. How about Deontay Hardy as a special teamer? Damian Harris poached from the past to replace Singletary? Taylor Rapp? At least they're trying. I'll give them that. Miami's goal is to hope to God to his head hasn't been scrambled like an egg at a diner. Missing his presence at the end of the season cost them any chance of making it far. But it also has to do with a defense that kinda sorta fell apart. And that's putting it nicely. To help correct such issues, they need a big name to free them from hell. One that speaks to a falling star, but still good enough to be a massive upgrade. The Rams are rebuilding, and Jalen Ramsey is gonna come dirt cheap. So why not get him? As a foil to Xavier Howard? It works. As Tyreek Hill plans to retire after his contract expires in a few years, they'll need support. Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert coming back aren't enough. Miami needs motherfuckers. And one's a free agent from New York. Do I even have to mention his name? Legends like Mike White don't grow on trees. This is even better than getting Jalen Ramsey. Oh, New England, I know you're in a musty film room scheming away to archived footage of the wing tee. Their offseason has been relatively quiet, but I feel more is coming. And that's considering they opened the vault for Juju Smith-Schuster. The only problem is he works best as a number 2 receiver, yet they paid him as a top option. Although their 2 tight end system could help there. Out goes Jonnu Smith, enter Mike Gesicki. And they actually use him unlike Miami did last year. Same goes for James Robinson with the Jets. No, what's really cooking besides a Jonathan Jones extension are the grumblings of a man named Lamar. Do they really want him? Well, you'd have to ask Bill. I'd say it's fake smoke, but there are a billion rumors about offering Mac Jones on a spit. Could we have a poaching situation on our hands? Probably not, but that's what the doldrums of the offseason are all about. I could talk about many things regarding the Jets offseason. I could discuss signing Alan Lazard and McCole Hardman or trading away Elijah Moore, but we all know what we're waiting on. 4 days of darkness has turned to 40 for the entire NFL world, and the saga everyone wants ending. When will Aaron Rodgers be traded to the Jets? This deal should have been done by now. Rodgers stated on Pat McAfee that he wants to be in New York. So what's the holdup? Trade compensation. Green Bay still wants a healthy draft pick selection for him despite having no leverage whatsoever. I could go on about how Aaron was missing throws left and right last season and had his worst statistical output since he wanted McCarthy fired, but it's still an upgrade, I guess. As a result, we can't judge the Jets offseason until this deal goes through. Although it would be absolutely hilarious if they somehow lose it. It'd be both the best and worst thing to happen to this franchise in a while. Speaking of overly drawn out and annoying quarterback dilemmas, there's a certain Lamar Jackson that still needs a place to play. When he was put on the transition tag, we expected the market to be robust for his services. It hasn't. Turns out no one wants to pay for a QB when Baltimore could just match the deal and leave a team fucked. For the past few months, this relationship has gone south faster than the snowbirds to Florida in the winter. Unfortunately, it may be too late to repair it. Lamar has formally requested a trade, and if he doesn't get the moon base that he desires, he may just hold out and not play next season. But Baltimore knows this, and are playing a comically large boombox outside his apartment. They want him back in the fold. They're bringing in receivers to help him for once. Not just Nelson Aguilar, but OBJ. He's declined from what he was and is coming off a torn ACL, but with that name power alone, it should help out. For $15 million minimum? Cincinnati suffered a painful loss, but it was much less of a gut punch than certain other playoff failures in the past that shall go unmentioned. The same goes for their offseason. They did lose significant pieces on defense, particularly Von Bell and Jesse Bates, but they need to secure funds for Joe Burrow's big boy extension. That mission is critical, since he did keep Jermaine Pratt around, but the bigger priority is protecting their crown jewel in the pocket. La'el Collins was a profound disappointment last season, constantly buried in pressures and then suffered severe injury. They can't afford that issue, so they cut him and bring in a true champion. His name is Orlando Brown Jr. He had his struggles last season, but look at the ring, man! With the contract they're giving, they're going to allow him to play blindside even. Bonus points for upgrading the line, but we all know the key is in extending Burrow. And poor Mike Brown is going to cry once he sees the final total. It will be a time when Deshaun Watson's contract forces Cleveland to shed critical talents to their franchise. That year will fortunately not be this one. The Browns restructured Deshaun's deal so they can attempt to field a competitive team with him in tow. It allowed them to not only keep Nick Chubb, but sign defensive pieces like Dalvin Tomlinson, Juan Thornhill, and Ogbo Okoronkwo. Considering that Jadeveon Clowney is jumping for joy that he's gone, they're decent replacements. Only problem is that they kick the can down the road. Thanks to the restructure, Deshaun's cap hit in future years jumps to over $60 million. Good luck trying to keep Nick Chubb with that, Cleveland. Pittsburgh's in a weird spot. Mostly because no matter what they'll do, they'll somehow bullshit their way to a 9-win season. It is the law. And that offseason kind of proves that with attempts to fix holes in departing talents with low-key moves. Although Pat Pete is kind of a big name, even if he's not what he was in his prime. Gotta replace Cam Sutton somehow. Same as the usually snake-bitten Keanu Neal replacing Terrell Edmonds. And that linebacking core. Nearly everyone who played there last year is gone. Honestly might be for the best, but instead of those men, you get a Landon Roberts and Cole Holcomb. Hopefully they will be the men that will fix that position for the first time in years. Offensive line improvements? Say hello to Isaac Seumalo and Nate Herbig. Now only if they could do something about offensive tackle, hint hint, Steelers. That'd be great. Look, with how much cap space the Texans had, with how bad of a team they were last year, there was nowhere to go but up. Nearly everything was already liquidated, barring a Brandon Cooks begging to get out. Speaking of that, he's now free from this dude. The haul must commence. Look at all the acquisitions they brought in and see the rewards. Case Keenum as a mentor under center. Devin Singletary and Andrew Beck as running backs. Robert Woods and Noah Brown for the receiving core. Dalton Schultz moving down south to play tight end. Shaq Mason acquired from Tampa Bay. And all those pieces on defense. Jimmy Ward, Sheldon Rankins, Hassan Ridgeway, and much more. But what Houston's planning for is their future QB at number 2. And he'll have an elite blindside blocker for a long time when he gets here. Laramie Tunsil reclaims his throne as the highest paid tackle in the game. A well-deserved reward for grinding through years of awful football. And probably another year or two of rebuilding. Quarterback carousel in Indy continues to spin round and round. Matt Ryan's veteranism and skill was a surprisingly predictable failure. And he's finally being put out of his misery in the legendary Glue Factory. Such a terrible fate. But we must look to the future. And the next victim of the QB machine will be one taken in the draft. Probably. There are some rumors about them going after Lamar, but why settle for rumors when you can have the legend that is Gardner Minshew? How about Samson Ebukam for your defense? Or giving Matt Gay the biggest free agent deal a kicker has ever signed? Those are decent moves, especially considering their kicking woes, but does it really move the needle for the Colts? Until they solve their QB conundrum, they are doomed. It's the worst-kept secret in the world. And there isn't much they can do about it for now. Why do you think they traded Stephon Gilmore for the cap space? Unless they really are going for Lamar. How many people do you think Indianapolis would kill to get their hands on another generational QB like Trevor Lawrence? He's starting to blossom into something special, and the key for the Jags is to simply stay the course. There was no need to splurge in free agency because, let's be honest, they did that last year. All there is to do is extend Andrew Wingard and make Evan Engram so valuable that Jacksonville franchise tagged him. The rest are mainly small moves, but a big announcement was made. Remember when they traded for Calvin Ridley? Well, he's been reinstated, free to catch NFL passes with his dazzling talent again. Players, this is a friendly reminder to properly cover your tracks when violating league protocol. Remember, use a username that you've never used before. Also, VPNs are your friend. Titans fans, look away. The new managerial regime has all but admitted that they need to find a way out of football hell. What that means is bye-bye to a lot of fan favorites and veteran faces. Look at the names that have been cut. That's a lot of history in Tennessee gone in a flash. Hell, it doesn't stop there. King Henry himself was rumored in the trade market early in the offseason, but I don't know if they'll get that much for him with his age and mileage. They're not throwing in the towel, though. There are gambles being made to try and right the ship, mainly in replacing the oft-injured Taylor Lewan with the oft-injured Andre Dillard. Try to shake up the pass rush again with Arden Key. Not to mention signing Sean Murphy-Bunting and Azeez Al-Shaair. Getting younger always works in a young man's game. Jeffrey Simmons, no need to cut him, he's still a beast. You extend that man long term. Now you wonder if they try for something bold to help them escape. Say, trade up to pick a big-name quarterback in the draft? Apparently, Malik Willis has fallen out of favor by being horribly rushed to action. I get it, you have to do something. Last year's disappointment for Denver must not be repeated. To be honest, I'm being very, very nice with that assessment. New coach Sean Payton's looking to put his mark on the team. And how he can do it? Besides smacking sense into Russell Wilson, by overhauling an awful offensive line. Mike McGlinchey is one of the best right tackles in the game, so pay him like one. Ben Powers is a guard from the Ravens, that's worth paying in and of itself. No such thing as too much O-line talent. Samaje Perine didn't fumble the contract like Melvin Gordon did. Zach Allen got a shitload to move north from Arizona. There's also something else coming from there as well. Vance Joseph is once again prepared to have the time of his life. They do realize he isn't good as a defensive coordinator, right? Oh, well, it ain't my team. Perpetual reloading will continue until we all bow at the might of the Chiefs. As expected, many pieces have left for greener pastures thanks to the Super Bowl tax. May their ring be permanently dressed and their paydays be life-changing. Even with losing a lot of talent, Kansas City is still afforded luxury splashes to push for dynasty status. How about Jawan Taylor for $20 million a year? Charles Omenihu for the defensive line? They will be welcomed in Title Defense 2.0. Bigger, stronger, and faster. Good luck in that pursuit. It should be plenty fruitful with the core you have in tow. Except for you, Frank Clark. You've been cut. When dealing with his victims, Buffalo Bill made sure their skin after death was pristine. Only then could he create the perfect exterior for his voyeurism. The Raiders are doing the same thing with the Patriots. Like many before them, skinning them alive to create a so-called perfect exoskeleton. Derek Carr wasn't the main issue on the team last year, but he will be the scapegoat. Goodbye, failure. The Las Vegas Patriots have a Tom Brady to get. What do you mean he retired? Fine, just get Jimmy Garoppolo as a plan B. He's just like Derek Carr, except he plays 10 games a year instead of 17. Darren Waller's gone too, but he's injury-prone. Better to replace him with Austin Hooper and a few other pieces like Marcus Epps and Robert Spillane for that awful defense. Denying Josh Jacobs his fifth-year option was a mistake. But that's why God invented the franchise tag. It's pretty much a fifth-year option. They also have to reward Jacoby Myers for throwing the game against the Raiders last season as well. That's why you paid him that much to play for you, right? I can't take the Chargers seriously until they stop running into their own incompetence. When you blow such exorbitant leads that even Atlanta is telling you to stop with the choking, there are problems. Their immediate answer is to cure themselves of Lombardi's disease for Kellen Moore. The flashy move that everyone will somehow chuck into a fire when he makes an inexplicable play call that backfires in a critical moment. They did manage to keep Keenan Allen around when we all expected him to be cut, so I'll give that to them. Plus add in Eric Hendricks for the defense and team leadership. I just don't know what happens with Austin Eckler. He wants out. But not San Diego isn't all that keen on trading him off. He might be stuck here until next offseason, where he can only hope an injury doesn't destroy his value as a player. Running backs are unfortunately pretty replaceable in the modern NFL. Just ask Melvin Gordon, and then ask the NFC how their offseasons fared.
4-down territory, obviously, because they got to get it or they're done. Willis, holding, chased, trying to escape. He does, but he's got nowhere to go. And he goes down again. Back at the 9-yard line.